Hello, thanks for joining a new video. Today we're unboxing the Motorola Razr60. Let's begin. Make sure to pay close attention because this is likely to be among the most affordable folding phones available on the market today, especially if you're interested in a device that has just been released and you're not considering older models from previous years. It's quite intriguing. The launch price in Mexico has been set at 18,999 pesos. As you can see, this price is significantly lower than that of the Motorola Razr60 Ultra, which is currently one of the priciest devices out there. Clearly, they made some reductions to adjust their price, but we'll gradually get to know all the details. For now, let's open the box to take a closer look at everything that comes with the device. Inside the box, we first find the mobile device itself. There is a recommendation, as with all foldable devices, that you should not remove the protector that is factory installed on the screen. So, that's a basic recommendation I have for you. And right over here, we're already meeting directly with this foldable device. We're going to give you a little peek at it, just to give you an initial look at it right off the bat. But don't worry, in just a moment, we'll focus more on its specifications. For now, let me show you what else comes in the box right here, because it seems like it's not going to be as simple a box as some other devices. And that could indeed be a benefit of this particular model. Immediately, we encounter the charger and the cable. While the charger itself appears to be quite small, I expect that it will be straightforward and uncomplicated. However, it's important to mention that it comes with 33 watts. This is a significant limitation, as it seems it won't benefit from very fast charging. Additionally, the cable provided is from USB-A to USB-C, which means it won't appear very modern either. Here, we start noticing several compromises made with this model because, as I emphasize, the main goal is to make the price of foldables more affordable, but that seems to be the extent of it. However, here on the opposite cover of the box, you'll notice that there is an additional envelope included. Inside this envelope, we can discover more content, which is quite nice. This is because, even though it is a device aiming to adjust its price, it hasn't made substantial sacrifices regarding what comes inside the box. Let's take a closer look, for instance, at what we will directly find here. We'll see, for example, that here we'll find a very unusual box. For starters, this is not something too relevant, but what is relevant is that it comes with this case included, something quite rare. But fortunately, as you can see here, this is a cover that is divided into two parts, similar to the covers of most folding cases. Additionally, in this case, it comes with these specific areas that are designed to help the case adhere more effectively to the device. It's important to note that this case is made from recycled plastics, which is a great feature. Fortunately, it is not just a simple transparent case and nothing more, but it comes in the same color as the device, so it does not lose too much of its aesthetic appeal, although the device itself has a soft touch and the texture is very nice and does get lost a bit when you use a case, but at least it maintains its color. When it comes to aesthetics, it will undoubtedly add significant thickness to the device. Therefore, it's crucial to consider this aspect when deciding whether you want to use it or not. Additionally, the cover of this external part. It includes these stickers or adhesives that need to be removed to ensure the case is positioned properly and doesn't fall off. A downside of folding cases is that they can't always be removed and reapplied as desired. Once it's on, taking it off becomes much harder, and reapplying it is nearly impossible because the stickers lose their effectiveness over time. The truth is, with the case on, it appears to be a much bulkier foldable device. Personally, I didn't find it very appealing, so I would prefer to use this foldable without its cases to fully enjoy the lightness and compactness that foldables inherently provide. But I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Would you choose to use this device with a case or without one? Well, that covers everything in the box. What do you think about turning our attention to the phone now? We already have the device set up right here, so let's take a detailed tour of its specifications so you can get to know it a bit more thoroughly. You know that in the full review we will dive much deeper into all its features and capabilities, but right now let's quickly get acquainted with its specs. It has a weight of 188.4 grams, which is actually quite light, contributing to it being a super compact and very practical device to use. When unfolded, it measures 7.25 millimeters in thickness, and when folded, it measures 15.85 millimeters. Despite being a folding stand designed to be quite economical, it's worth noting that there is no gap present in the hinge, which is definitely a positive aspect. Additionally, the hinge possesses sufficient rigidity. While it may not be the most rigid option available on the market, you'll notice it wobbles slightly, but it's sturdy enough to use as a stand for photos or recording yourself. It doesn't disappoint in that aspect. It also features IP48, making it fully waterproof, though not entirely dust-proof, but sufficient for practical use. In that regard, there is no noticeable reduction in the experience compared to the folding premium. The external display is protected by Gorilla Glass, although the manufacturer hasn't specified which version. This external screen measures 3.6 inches diagonally. However, a significant portion is occupied by these cameras, which means it takes up a bit more space. The resolution is full HD, 1056 by 1066 pixels. It features a very square aspect ratio and provides a refresh rate of 90 Hz. Clearly, as with other foldables from Motorola, it allows you to unfold and open up. You can access practically any application from this screen. However, as I mentioned, due to the frame located above, along with the proportion and the space taken up by the cameras, the usable area left for applications is significantly smaller than we would have preferred. Additionally, it has an entirely horizontal proportion, which might make it difficult to use some applications that are designed with a more vertical orientation. The screens might not appear great, but it clearly depends on the applications you use most often. The internal screen measures 6.9 inches diagonally and also provides us with full HD resolution, specifically 1080 by 2640 pixels. In this instance, it features a refresh rate of 120 Hz. Both screens are OLED, so I believe we will not encounter a poor experience, quite the opposite. They are high quality screens. In this instance, we have stereo sound with one speaker located at the bottom and another in the earpiece area for calls. The initial sound impression is good. The secondary speaker lacks strong bass frequencies but complements the overall amplitude well. It's not a perfectly symmetrical sound, but it still offers a broad experience. The front camera has 32 megapixels and an f2.4 aperture, and mentions that the preview appeared overexposed, looking completely washed out, but once the image was processed, it creates a great balance of highlights and shadows. Actually, I find the color rendition quite nice, even though the HDR effect isn't very appealing. More exaggerated than I prefer, but it looks fine. Overall, in fact, the screen utilizes its HDR capabilities. So you will notice that certain areas of the image are going to shine more brightly than others, which helps to create this feeling of realism. However, I must insist that the HDR effect appears to be somewhat exaggerated, which causes this very wall, for instance, to look a bit darker in some areas and lighter in parts that are closer to the face. Therefore, it doesn't seem to be a complete expert in photography, but well, the result is ultimately like that. Regarding the external part, we will find a 50 megapixel main camera in this case, with an aperture of f1.7 and autofocus. Next, we have the ultra wide-angle camera, which boasts 13 megapixels and an f2.2 aperture. It includes autofocus, allowing it to function as a macro camera as well. Now let's take a moment to examine the pictures. The ultra-wide camera doesn't appear particularly strong when it comes to managing light and shadow. In fact, the color rendition doesn't seem very accurate either, but having it as an option is valued. However, the main camera has seen significant improvements in several ways. This is going to be the camera you will find yourself using the most often. However, it's important to note that when using the 50mm perspective and applying a 2x zoom, we often fail to notice that the optical quality remains consistent, and thus it doesn't appear to be particularly spectacular. Fortunately, at 4x zoom, we can still capture a photograph with enough detail, although it's quite evident that it utilizes digital zoom. Lastly, the maximum zoom capability is 10x, and in this regard, it becomes much more apparent that it relies on digital zoom, which doesn't seem to deliver high-quality results. When discussing the video recording capabilities, it's important to highlight that this device indeed allows us to capture video in 4K resolution at a frame rate of 30 frames per second. However, if we desire to increase the frame rate to 60 frames per second, we should be aware that the video quality will decrease to full HD. Fortunately, the ultra-wide camera, which is integrated into this device, still permits recording in 4K resolution at 30 frames per second. Additionally, it's worth noting that in this particular scenario, the device provides the ability to switch seamlessly between one camera and the other. Although it's important to mention that the transition process is relatively slow, even if it doesn't happen at a rapid pace. Did you see he was frozen for a while? Right now, it appears to be frozen. It seems that there is difficulty in interacting between the two cameras. It looks like it has already been completely frozen. And unfortunately, this occurred right in the middle of our recording session. The battery provides us with a capacity of 4,500 milliamp hours, and it supports charging at 33 watts. Plus the charger is included in the box. Now, similar to many foldable devices, this might be considered one of its weaker aspects. However, it truly isn't that small of a battery. We should take into account that in this instance, the processor isn't overly demanding. Nevertheless, we will conduct the necessary tests during the video review to determine with precision the battery life that it could potentially achieve. Luckily, it includes both wireless charging and reverse wireless charging capabilities, ensuring that the experience is entirely high-end in this regard. The device comes with Android 15, but sadly, it lacks the latest version, Android 16. Even though it's not a very recent release, it took some time for me to bring it here on my own. Then I believe we can acknowledge that it includes Android 15, and it also offers two highly appealing features. It comes equipped with 12 GB of RAM, along with the virtual RAM, which we shouldn't focus too much on. However, the physical RAM is indeed excellent, and the storage capacity is an impressive 512 GB. So in truth, it is highly competitive in this regard, because foldables aiming to be cost effective will definitely compromise significantly on storage capacity, and additionally will sacrifice RAM, but this device has cut back on the processor. It comes with a MediaTek Dimensity 7000. Trinaza ESCL Benchia Corrisilis. That is a remarkably simple processor. Obviously not at the level of an entry-level device, but at the level of a mid-range device, although a 2025 mid-range device I think already gives you more than enough performance for a good number of users. Compared to other foldables, it falls short. In single core, Geekbench provided us with 1081 points, and in multi-core it scored 3008 points. This means that its performance is somewhat comparable to several Snapdragon 7 processors such as Gen 1, 7S, Gen 2 or similar models. Therefore, I must emphasize that it is not a bad processor. However, considering the price, in devices that are not foldable, we will certainly find processors that are much more powerful, and even foldable devices might fall short, especially compared to past generations, but it depends 100% on your user type. I invite you to wait for the full video review where we'll test apps, games, video editing and more, so you can decide if this device's performance meets your needs or if you need something stronger. We've reached the end of this video. If you liked it, let us know, and we'll see you next time.